Episode 23, The Demon's Cradle. Deep beneath the earth, at the far end of a secret passage, torchlight guttered against stone. The cave was vast. Sharp stalactites hung from the ceiling like petrified fangs, built up over thousands of years by dripping mineral water. Now this ancient place served a different purpose. It was Mo Chok's sanctuary, the hidden heart of his life's work, the resurrection of the primordial ancient way. Before Mo Chok stood a spherical stone, deep blood red in color, its top worn into a shallow, concave depression. Resting perfectly within that hollow was a small black bronze jar. The jar's surface was carved with the faces of demons and evil spirits, and the strange grey smoke coiled around it without ceasing. Mo Chok threw back his head and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Just a little more, and the demon soul will have fully absorbed the power of the blood dragonstone. Combined with the chosen vessel, the one bearing the demon mark, the demon kin will be resurrected. He will reincarnate and restore order to the three realms. Those who abandoned us, who hunted down and exterminated our brothers and fellow disciples of the ancient way, will pay their price. The tantric sects will kneel on the ground and beg for salvation. We will return Tibet to what it once was. The primordial ancient way will rise above all others. Ha 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 ha. Cough, cough, cough. Blood spilled from his lips as he spoke. His 4 guards stood nearby, watching with tight expressions. In a short time, Mo Chok had visibly deteriorated. The breaking of the Great Formation had cost him dearly, and the demon sacrifice ritual had drained what remained. Worse, every full moon weakened him further. To sustain his life, he had long since established a terrible custom. Once a year, on the full moon night of August, he chose a virgin woman from the village as a sacrifice. His method was as old as cruelty itself. Before the appointed night, he will curse the village. Strange illnesses spreading through the people, livestock and poultry dying in droves. Then he would assume the identity of a divine messenger and declare to the terrified villagers that the gods were angry, that punishment had come, and that only a sacrifice would calm the divine wrath. He would name the woman and set her death date. Any family that dared resist would be marked as enemies on the entire village, and Mo Chogi would need to do nothing himself. The villagers, gripped by fear and warped belief, would carry out the punishment on his behalf. None of them had ever noticed that every plague, every disaster had begun only after the old man who called himself a medicine man first appeared in their mountains. And so, decade after decade, they lost themselves. They lived and died according to Mo Chok's will, worshipping the terror he had manufactured and calling it God. And yet human instinct is never entirely extinguished, especially in the hearts of fathers and mothers. Over the years, there had been those who refused to accept their children's deaths. Some had forced their sons and daughters to flee into the forest, even knowing they understood nothing of the world beyond those mountains. But all had been recaptured. The condemned still died on the appointed full moon night, and their parents, their brothers and sisters, every blood relative, were taken to the corpse yard, strung from poles and left for the crows. The roar and the ravens were meant as a lesson, and the lesson was learned. Fear grew with each passing year until the villagers were no more than livestock in Mochok's eyes. But fear is never complete. There had always been those with sharp minds, restless spirits, the desire to question and learn. They could not fight their fate as long as loved ones remained in the village. And besides, there was the curse that clung to Mist Village like fog. Anyone who left the mountain would die. Now, at last, Mochok stood on the threshold of completion. He gently wiped the blood from his mouth and smiled. Hey, I'm all right. Just a little more. When the ritual begins, I will use the lives of every villager, turning their souls into a guiding bridge for the demon soul to enter the chosen vessel. Our mission will be complete. He moved slowly behind the blood dragon stone and lifted a baby girl from where she lay. The infant had pale pinkish skin and her eyes were closed as though sleeping peacefully. Mochok raised her with both hands before the blood-red stone, and his 4 guards joined their voices to his. Ama Nacha, Ama Nacha, Ama Nacha. Mochok's laughter rose to a shriek. Do you see? This child has grown 2 full fangs, and look at her back. The demon mark is now clearly visible, a true devil's face, unmistakable. This child will be the king of the primordial ancient way. It was exactly as he said. The birthmark on the baby's back had resolved into something recognizable. A grotesque, hollow-eyed face pressed into the soft skin. But the infant slept on. 2 small fangs had pushed through her gums. After the demon's sacrifice ritual was completed, the demon soul would enter this child by crossing the bridge formed from the deaths of every man, woman, and child in Mist Village. The baby's existence and the village's destruction were bound together. Caw, caw, caw. The sound came without warning. A rush of black wings in the dark cave. A crow with red eyes dropped from nowhere and landed on Mochok's shoulder. He raised a bony hand to stroke its sleek feathers. The crow pressed his head into his palm. Then Mochok's eyes went wide. Something passed through him. His legs became unsteady. His trembling hand clenched the snake-headed staff, the human skull at its tip clacking softly. His teeth ground together. Stop. Damn it. We have an uninvited guest. The 4 guards exchanged a startled look. Could it be those people? Who else would come here? 4 mice who know nothing of fear. They're already in the village. How could they find this place with a barrier spread over it? Could it be that I have truly become this weak? Impossible. Nothing like this has happened in all these years. I had a feeling they were dangerous, but I never imagined they could come this far. Among those 4, there is one who is very difficult to detect. If we continue to let them move freely, the plan will fail. My dog stepped forward. Master need not concern himself. There are only 4 mice. Cleaning them up requires no effort from you. Mochok considered for a moment. If the ceremony is to proceed without interference, these rats cannot be allowed to live. Madok and Bafo, search for them. Kill them on sight. No need to report. Lada and Longta, control the villagers. Let no one resist the ceremony tonight. As for me, I have preparations still to make. I want the sacrifices to be pure before they become food for the king. Hehehe. The 4 guards bowed and moved to obey. Left alone, Mochok laid the baby gently back in her golden cradle and looked down at her sleeping face with something almost tender. My child, just a little more. No one will stop me now. Darkness had settled over the village. Roar, roar, ugh, ow. Tuak doubled over with nausea as Bao clamped a hand over his mouth. Are you trying to announce our position? Bao hissed. Tuak slapped the hand away. Still talking? It's your idea that has me dressed in a dead man's clothes. Reeking of rot. Endure it. This was the safest way into the village. Stop complaining. Ojong glanced around and murmured, but doesn't something feel off? The whole village is quiet. Every house is shut tight. No one going in or out. No sooner had he spoken than the sound of running reached them. Torchlight bobbing in the distance, coming closer. The group dropped low and pressed into the tall corn. From their hiding place, they watched the torch-bearers fan out through the village, each stopping to post guards in front of a house. Then came a second group, armed men led by Lada and Luong Ta. The shaman has given his orders. All villagers remain indoors until the ceremony. Those who disobey will be punished. They began checking each house in turn, moving steadily toward the cornfield where Master Luong's group lay hidden. Tuak kept his voice to a breath. I recognize those two. They are two of Mochok's 4 guards. Master Luong thought for a moment. It seems we've been discovered. Tuak, do you still remember the path to the wooden house behind the cliff? The terrain here hasn't changed. I still know every step. Everyone, follow me. Following the undergrowth, moving through the dark, Master Luong's group pressed deeper into the village with Tuak as their guide. Mochok's curfew had emptied the lanes. Not a single villager dared step outside, and so the group moved without incident. What carried them was Tuak's memory. He had been broken here once, had lost his mind in these very paths, yet now that he had returned, every trail and turning rose back to him with startling clarity. He moved through Mist Village as though he had never left. As they walked, Oljong asked in a low voice, Are you certain we're still on the right track? The going keeps getting harder. Tuak wiped his sweat and replied, Trust me, during the years I spent here, my friend and I memorized every part of this village, every trail, every hidden corner, searching for a way to escape. Mochok kept us confined inside the village, but allowed us to move freely within it. I know this land, Master Luong said. Of course, we trust you. We've survived this far because of it. I feel sorry all the same. If none of you had ever met me, none of you would be risking your lives now. Bao shook his head. Teacher said that again. Because of you, I've been able to begin answering questions that have lived in my chest for a long time. And this is no longer a personal matter. To stop Mochok, to save the lives of everyone in this village. I believe anyone with a conscience would do the same. Old Zen agreed. Uncle Bao is right. Each of us came here for a different reason at the start. But having witnessed with our own eyes the barbaric crimes of that shaman, now we have only one enemy, Mochok. Tuak stopped suddenly. Past this point, we climbed the rocky cliff. Mochok's quarters lie beneath the cliff face, just on the other side of the valley. Bao frowned. Why does it smell so foul here? because this is where the village's refuse collects garbage, filth, animal waste, and worse. Nobody passes through here. The most revolting places sometimes hide what no one expects to find. In my opinion, Bao said, the smell here is worse than the clothes we took off the dead. As he said it, Tuak stripped off the garments he had borrowed from the Death Beach corpses. We don't need the disguise anymore. Wearing a dead man's clothes feels like too great a taboo now that we're this close. There's still time. Let's move. It was hard going, through the reeking marsh, over steep and treacherous rock, but at last they reached the cliff behind the valley. Below them, through the darkness, was the wooden house where Tuak had once watched his closest friend be devoured alive by Mochok's worm. Faint firelight seeped from within. Everything else lay in shadow. Tuak pointed. That old man is in there. He always keeps guards close. But just now, we saw two of them ransacking houses in the village. This is our best chance. A sudden attack catches him unprepared. Master Luong himself said the full moon weakens him. His strength has been going to the formation, and without it, he's diminished. Conditions are in our favor. Let's go down and send him to the place where he belongs. Bao leaned over the edge and shivered. Boots, that's an enormous drop. Are we really climbing down? While Bao was still asking, Tuak was already binding lengths of forest vine into a rope. He moved with a frantic energy he had not shown before. And why wouldn't he? In that house, Mochok had torn his friend apart before his eyes, had let a worm eat the young man from the inside, then consumed the worm himself. And just recently, because of Mochok, Tuak had been forced to kill his best friend with his own hands. Every ounce of grief and hatred was concentrated in that wooden house below them. The enemy was right there. How could he stay calm? When the vine rope was long enough, Tuak volunteered to go first. Master Luong recognized the haste and raised a hand. Wait, we need a clear plan. Rushing now will ruin everything. Something feels wrong to me. Having come this far, I won't waste such an opportunity. If we delay, Mo Chok's men will return. And then killing him, let alone dealing with his guards, becomes impossible. Master Luong, stop hesitating. Every minute we spend thinking is a minute we lose. Our plan is simple. Go down, kill Mochok. There was no time to counter him. Before Master Luong could speak, Tuak slipped over the edge and descended, swift and silent, making no sound at all. When he reached the bottom, the rope jerked 3 times in signal. Bao looked at Master Luong and old Zheng. I'll go next. You two follow. Wait, but Bao was already gone. Old Zheng looked at Master Luong. My turn. Once I'm down, I'll help pull you up if needed. Old Zheng was just gripping the rope when Master Luong stopped him. Let me go first. You go last. If something happens, you may still be able to pull us back. Ha ha ha. That made sense. Old Zheng held the rope steady while Master Luong prepared to descend. Before going over, Master Luong said very quietly, if you don't want us to die, run now, this is a trap. Hide. Old Zheng froze. Master Luong was already descending, hand over hand, vanishing into the dark below. 2 choices stood before Old Zheng: climb down with the others or obey. He made his decision in a moment. Below, the torchlight blazed to life all at once. Pressed against the cliff, Bao stood stunned. Tuak had a knife in his hand, his teeth clenched, ready to fight and die. Master Luong stood utterly calm. What is this? Bao whispered. We are surrounded. Tuak, put down the knife. This is not the time to die for nothing. Tuak looked past everyone and realized Old Zhang had not come down. Where is Old Zhang? Master Luong smiled softly. Perhaps he has gone to save us. From behind, a powerfully built man stepped forward. His head was nearly shaved, a single thin braid descending from crown to nape. He rolled his eyes with contempt. Only 3 mice in the trap. It seems one escaped. No matter. The one the master is most concerned about is already here. My orders are to capture and kill you on sight. But before I act, I want to ask the old man with the gray beard one question. Who are you? Tuak recognized him. Madak, one of Mochok's 4 guards. During his years in Mist Village, Tuak had learned everything about them. These 4 were the shaman's executioners, his intermediaries, the ones who delivered punishment to any villager who showed resistance. The mere mention of Mochok's 4 guardians made the villagers tremble. Master Luong smiled and replied, I am merely a gravedigger, but I know very well what is being plotted in this land. Mochok, are you listening? Roughly 40 years ago, in Dai'an village, a massacre occurred. 300 villagers died in a single night. The deaths were made to appear as collective suicide. Yet every body bore a curse mark, the seal of the ancient way, originating from Tibet. On that night, we saw 300 souls extinguished at once. Was also a full moon night in August. The one who caused that massacre was you, was it not, Mochok? It seems that year you failed to bring the demon soul into the world, and the Dai'an incident brought the tantric sects down on your head. That is why you and your remnants fled to Vietnam, to keep dreaming of your demon resurrection and your revenge. Madok's jaw tightened. His eyes lit with fury. What are you babbling about? Pretty words before a death sentence. You've had your say. Now you die. But then Mochok's voice rang inside Madok's skull. Don't kill them, capture them. I will come to meet them myself. Master, why? That is not your concern. Capture those rats alive. All of them are far more extraordinary than I realized. One of them has a connection to the demon mark. Madok did not dare disobey. He ordered his men, tie them and bring them inside. Tuak's hand tightened on his knife. Master Luong said quietly, Don't throw your life away, not if you still want revenge. Bao exhaled. He had been certain they were all about to die. Why did he change his mind? It wasn't Madok's decision. Mochok wants us alive. It seems what I said had an effect. Tuok resists nothing. If we die now, your friends will never be avenged. You don't want to die in vain. Tuok's hands shook with fury, but he let the knife fall. They were bound tightly and marched inside. Mochok's men lashed them to the house's wooden pillars. Madok sent the others out and stood watch. Moments later, Buffo entered. You haven't caught that 4th one yet? Buffo asked. Not yet. Buffo walked around to study each prisoner, and then turned to Madok. Why are they still alive? Weren't the master's orders to kill them immediately? The master stopped me himself. I don't understand why, but soon he'll come to speak with them in person. Bafo made a slow circuit of the 3 prisoners. Then he grabbed Tuak by the hair and yanked his head up. "You filthy wretch! You caused us all trouble, nearly ruined everything. You should have known to keep your dog's life while you had the chance." Tuak spat directly into Bafo's face. "Your best move would be to kill me right now, because as long as I'm breathing, I will not forgive any of you. Not you, not your fellows, not that miserable old man you call master. Even as a ghost, I won't let it go." Bafo wiped the saliva from his face, screaming, and tore the knife from his belt. He drove it toward Tuok's throat. In 1 second of madness, he might have opened Tuok's jugular, but Madak caught his arm and pulled him back. "Calm down. Do you mean to defy the master's orders? If you kill him, you won't survive the night." The threat of Mochok's name doused Bafo's rage like cold water. He steadied himself, laughed softly, and leaned close to Tuok's face. He. Don't worry. When the master is finished with you, I will kill you myself. And remember, your road to hell will be a long one. I won't let you die quickly. He. Tuok strained and writhed against his ropes, unable to do more. He turned his fury on Master Luong. "I shouldn't have listened to you. I should have fought them here and taken someone with me. Now look at us, tied like animals, waiting to die. Is this your plan?" Master Luong said nothing. Bo finally spoke. "Shut up, or have you forgotten how we ended up here? Master Luong himself warned you that something felt wrong. It was you who ignored that and jumped straight into their trap. Without him, neither of us would still have a voice in our throats." Bafo and Madak found this entertaining. They laughed between themselves. "Ha ha ha, watch the mice bite each other. That's it, show your true colors. You won't be talking much longer." He. Clack, clack, clack. The sound came from behind the strangely shaped chair, a hidden passage opening in the wall. Bafo and Madak fell instantly silent. Their laughter vanished. They both knew who was coming. Gop, gop, gop. Footsteps on stairs. A figure ascending from underground. Mochok appeared, haggard, long white hair hanging loose, thin hands gripping his snake-headed staff with the human skull at its end. Even Tuak, who had lived with this image for years, could not have prepared himself for how far Mochok had deteriorated. But the cold, predatory eyes and the unmistakable savage grin were exactly as he remembered. He. Interesting. Let's see what we have here. Bafo and Madak dropped to their knees at Mochok's entrance. Madak spoke first. "The master forgives the crime. One prisoner escaped our reach." Bafo added, "But do not worry, master. He cannot have gone far. I have people searching. He will be caught." Mochok nodded and signaled them to rise. "It's all right. You performed well enough. Missing one is no great problem. The most dangerous among them is already here. I will handle what needs handling. 2 of you, go outside." Hesitant but obedient, Bafo and Madak withdrew to stand guard. Mochok moved slowly toward Master Luong. Bao watched the shaman approach and felt his skin crawl. There was something deeply wrong on the old man's appearance, something that radiated beyond illness into something darker, And that grin. Whenever Mo Chok grinned like that, Bao felt it in his spine. Mo Chok stopped in front of Master Luong and smiled. Hey, tell me, who are you? Why do you know so clearly what happened in the past? Looking at you, I can guess that you were still a child at the time. So how is it that you understand even the demon soul? People of your generation were not supposed to know such things existed anymore. You make me feel uneasy and curious at the same time. Say it, you bold troublemaker. Master Luong met his gaze. So it's confirmed. Everything our group reasoned out over the past few days is correct. It was you, or rather, people like you, driven by the ideology of reviving the ancient way, who carried out the massacre in Dai An village all those years ago. As you guessed, I was just a child at the time, but if you want to know why I understand the incident so thoroughly, I'll tell you. Have you ever heard the name Kuch Kwan? Mo Chok paused. His eyes narrowed. Then after only a few seconds, is the Kuch Kwan, you mean the true disciple of Liao Ding, the legendary master of witchcraft, a genius taught by Liao Ding himself, whose power from boyhood made even the greatest sorcerers wary, the one who vanished without explanation. Master Luong laughed. Ha, Mo Chok's knowledge is genuinely impressive. Yes, that year I was the boy who traveled with Master Kuk Kwan to Dai'an village. We arrived too late. Every villager was already dead. My master read the celestial signs and knew that a great disaster was rising in the east, that countless lives would be lost. A pity we could not save a single one. People call him a spirit master, but he never accepted the title. He called himself only a wandering Taoist living in the mountains. By the time the cause of death was confirmed, 300 Dayan villagers killed by the ancient way out of Tibet, the esoteric Buddhist sects across all of China, were mobilized to eradicate every last root of the primordial ancient way. I assumed you had no place left to hide. I did not expect that crossing the Chinese border, you would find this land. Mo Chok laughed. He could not have said why, but hearing Master Luong's words made him genuinely amused. I see. You are Kuk Kwan's disciple. That explains why your abilities are so impressive. I've been nursing a headache trying to understand how a Vietnamese practitioner could know so much about the ancient way. But you said one thing wrong. I did not flee here because I was being hunted. The pursuit was certainly inconvenient. I will grant you that. But do not forget, the ancient way has existed for thousands of years. It has risen and fallen, risen and fallen. But it has never been wiped out entirely. When I wished to vanish, no one could find me. Then something here drew you. Most likely, something connected to the demon soul. Mo Chok turned his face away slightly. Very intelligent. I believe more and more that you're truly Kush Kwan's disciple. But why would someone like you travel all this way? Did you know from the beginning that the demon soul was here? Everything is God's arrangement. I never imagined I would find a man who took 300 lives on the night my master arrived too late. Perhaps heaven wanted me to complete what my master could not finish 40 years ago, a way of letting his soul rest at last, because the Dai An village massacre was one of the heaviest griefs of his life. Mo Chok burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. So Hu Quan is dead. He. What a pity. A man like him, living a life of service to humanity. And in the end, he lies a few inches underground like anyone else. That is precisely why only the ancient way elevates a person above common fate. When the demon king enters the world, a new order will be established. He. Moshuk approached the table where Master Luong's bound hands rested. He opened Master Luong's bag. His trembling fingers passed over everything else and seized on a single object. Master Luong's expression shifted just slightly, and Mochuk turned the object in his hands, his eyes widening. He grinned in a way that made Bao want to look away. Hey, a Kodok Kitru, the legendary tome said to be the lost treasure of Liao Din himself. It is said that whoever possesses this strange book holds within their hands all the witchcraft of the ancient world. Some say Liao Din found it in an ice cave. Others say he wrote it himself. I believe both stories are true, that the book is a compilation of ancient spells, predating even Liao Din, augmented by his own forbidden research and secret arts. And here it is in your hands. He opened the book eagerly and stopped. He brought it close to Master Luong's face. Damn it, only half. Where are the remaining pages? Master Luong smiled. I don't know. This is not the original Kodok Kitru. The true book burned to ash long ago and no longer exists in this world. You're lying. No sane man would burn such a treasure. Believe what you wish. What you're holding is a copied version of the first half only. Mo Chok stared into Master Luong's eyes for a long moment, then smiled. Hey, it's fine. If you've memorized every note in that book, then so will I, because I have a way to consume everything you hold inside your head. He. Unexpectedly, you've brought me such a fine gift. From that point, Mochak paid no attention to Tuak or Bao. Tuak seethed. The enemy was before him, and he was helpless. He shouted curses that Mochok ignored entirely. Then Mochok moved to Bao. He looked closely at Bao's face. He leaned in and breathed deeply, as though tasting the air around him. His eyes closed. Then he smiled. Hey. Yes, you are the one involved. From you there emanates a particular aura, a particular scent, similar to my child. He. Now I understand. The one who raised the hand against the scapegoat, that was you. But don't be afraid. You have brought into this world a perfect vessel, something that, after hundreds of years, countless generations of those who kept and tended the demon soul never managed to produce. I will not kill you. Thanks to you, the demon mark has at last appeared. The love between you and that girl, it must have been extraordinarily pure, extraordinarily deep. That is why the child born from it was chosen. Bao's voice shook, saying, that means Suong actually gave me a child? Is that poor girl's name Suong? Hehehe, that's right. But that child is no longer yours now. Hehehe. Bao roared and strained against his bonds until the wood creaked, but it was useless. Bafo, Ma Duck, come in here. The two guards stepped inside. Mo Chok gave his orders. Put them in cages. Wash them carefully. After the ritual, I will need them. Time is short. Let nothing go wrong. Bafo hesitated. And the one who escaped, Master? Don't worry. With these mice in my hand, that one will come on his own. it would crawl into the trap by itself. Mo Chok descended back into the cave. Master Luong, Tuok, and Bao were escorted to a large cage in a separate location, with many guards outside, Bafo and Ma Duck among them. They were clearly preparing to catch Old Zeng the moment he appeared. Locked in the cage, Bao had not stopped crying. It was not only grief. There was something else inside those tears. A strange, painful joy. Mo Chok himself had confirmed it. Luong had given birth to a child. Bao clasped his hands together and begged, "Master Luong, please help me get out of here. I have a child. Me and Luong really have a child. I have to meet her. Please teach her." Master Luong looked at the cage bars and said softly, "The three of us can only rely on that person now. Old Zeng, I hope you're still safe. Because not only our 3 lives, but the lives of every person in this village rest on that old man's shoulders." Deep in the forests beyond the valley, Old Zeng ran. It had been the hardest decision of his life, to turn away while everyone else fell into danger. He had heard shouting behind him just after Master Luong disappeared down the cliff rope. Now those sounds were gone. Either he had run too far for them to follow, or they had stopped caring about him. In either case, he was alone, surrounded on all sides by trees, vines, and undergrowth. And the primeval forests offered nothing but darkness and hidden danger. Phew, phew, Old Zeng froze. A sound, low and dry, like a breath dragged over stone. He took a defensive stance. In forest darkness this thick, you could not see what circled you. Only instinct guided you. Then something reached him. A smell, clean and sharp. Pine resin. He turned. Behind him stood a large pine tree, its base ringed with fallen needles and dry pine cones. In a dark forest, fire is everything. It keeps animals away. It provides warmth against a drop in night temperature. It gives you eyes. Old Zeng knew this as well as he knew his own hands. He cut a deep V-shape into the tree trunk, then tore strips from the dead man's shirt he was still wearing and wrapped them tightly around the trunk just below the cut. He piled the pine needles and cones beneath, drew out his flint, always carried on trips into the forest, and struck sparks until the kindling caught. The fire flared up. In its light, he saw something move away from a nearby tree trunk and disappear into the shadows. He oriented himself. The forest around him was nothing like any forest he had ever entered. Ancient, completely untouched. Trees so massive it would take several men with outstretched arms to encircle them. The torchlight was not strong enough to reveal everything, and what it did reveal left him standing still with a kind of stunned wonder. But there was no time for wonder. Master Luong, Bao, and Tuak were captured. He was alone, even with his strength and nerve. Walking back into that compound would be no different from walking into a grave. He struck the pine tree hard with his fist. "What do I do now, Master Luong? Why did you tell me to run?" "Roar, roar." He looked up. Shadows moved through the high branches. Quick, fluid shapes passing from limb to limb. He tensed and raised his knife before he realized monkeys. Owl monkeys. A whole group of them. Moving through the canopy with the strange hooting sound that gave them their name. Nocturnal foragers. They were searching for fruit. Old Zeng let out a slow breath. Owl monkeys, nocturnal species. Follow them and see. He stripped the pine sap soaked shirt from the tree, wound it around the end of a dry branch, and thrust it into the fire. He stamped out the ground fire and held up his torch, following the flow of moving shapes through the branches. The monkeys led him deeper, rushing through the darkness with an ease that made him feel old and slow. Then they stopped. Their characteristic hooting gathered from behind a curtain of thick hanging vines. Old Zhang swallowed, gripped his knife and his torch, and began slashing through the vines. When he broke through into the space beyond, he raised the torch high. The monkeys had gone quiet. They clustered in the branches above, watching him with orange eyes. They were here for the fruit. Just as he had guessed, fruit trees that bore in the dark. But that was not the only thing that had drawn them to this hidden corner of the forest. Something else was here, something that made old Zhong's breath stop and his hands tremble. This isn't... Back in the cage, Bao had not finished grieving. Old Zhang will come for us, won't he? Master Luong replied. Of that, I have no doubt. If I hadn't told him to run, he would have jumped down after us without a second thought. What I'm uncertain about is whether he can find a way to free us alone. The enemy outnumbers us and shows no mercy. Tuak said grimly, then why risk your life coming here at all? Better to have died fighting than to sit here like fish on a chopping board. Hatred had overwhelmed your reason. Our goal is to stop Mo Chok from massacring innocent people. Until that is done, any sacrifice made in haste is a wasted one. Anger gives you strength and courage. Yes, but it also strips you of composure and makes you rush. Even a small thread of hope is worth holding. And old Zhang is that thread. Bao asked, how did you know it was a trap? I didn't. If I had known, I would have stopped Tuak. But I had a bad feeling. No matter how weakened Mo Chok was, leaving his headquarters unguarded made no sense, and everything came too easily. Not one problem on the way in. Too easy can mean dangerous. Still, Mo Chok is deeply cunning. Even when his trap is visible, it catches you, because there is never enough time to think, and the hatred he provokes makes people hasty. Even so, someone had to be kept outside, someone capable enough to do something with a second chance. Tuak scoffed, and that changes nothing. Old Zhang is still one man. Master Luong smiled. It was the smile of someone who knows more than he is saying. There are still many things you don't know about old Zhang. Sitting here speculating solves nothing. I'm betting my life on that old man. Ha ha ha. In the forest, old Jean was already on the move, rummaging, gathering, laughing softly to himself. Ha ha ha. Just what I need. Everyone, I'll be right back.